Okay, we're going to try this again, and we're going to see if everything is working right now. So let's load up the Twitch and get the chat room up and see if we're going to have a stream tonight or not. And it's being a real bitch about, like, loading. So I'm still not seeing a very good video feed come through here. And I don't get it. This was working fine last week. Um, I really don't understand it. Let me see if I can get my hand to move nicely in front of the webcam. My apologies for doing these tests here, but like I said, I don't have a test environment because Switch doesn't provide those sorts of resources. So I literally have to do this just to make sure things are working right. Okay, that video is choppy at times, but it might be adequate. Sometimes it looks like it's going to be okay, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't get this. I really don't get what's going on. I wonder if it doesn't like the fact that I dare to use two webcams. So it might be that. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to turn this webcam off. No, we're going to turn this webcam off. And we'll figure that out in a little bit. But for now, you can look at this computer. And we're only going to look at this computer briefly. And really, I still want to see if the video looks any better. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh that now and see what I see. And I really don't see the same level of frame rate and refresh that I should be seeing. So I really don't know what the hell's going on there with that. I'm not even using half my CPU. I'm sending 30 frames a second. So yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why. All right. Well, we'll go and we'll see how this turns out. So there's actually two desktops here. We're going to be dealing with three computers this week. This right here is, ignoring the monitor on the right, is the Computerland BC88, which has previously been featured on this show. And this week I outfitted it with an EGA video card to temporarily replace the CGA video card that this computer came with. And that's because we're going to demonstrate, we're going to do a little refresher, a review of what we covered last week on the journey to Windows 10. And for those of you that might be tuning in and missed last week's episode, the premise of this is I have a Pentium 4 that I believe I could get to load every version of Windows. And so I've installed Windows 1 on it, and last week we upgraded from Windows 1.04 to 2.03, and then did the upgrade from 2.03 to 3.0. And we installed some software each step along the way, and we made and edited some documents each step along the way. And we found that some things continued to work, some things stopped working. And that's really what this is, a journey to the upgrade path. What if we start with Windows 1 and upgrade it all the way to 10 with each step? And let's, visit each operating system along the way, making this a multi-week thing, which is probably going to get more boring towards the end as it's long installs and very slow, poorly working operating systems. But for now, we're right in the sweet spot. We're getting right to the sweet spot. But I also want to take a chance to look at some of the stuff on time period correct hardware as well. And the Computerland BC88 with an EGA card is a perfect candidate for a machine to run Windows 1 and Windows 2 on. It does just barely meet the requirements for Windows 3, but that takes up a lot of its hard disk space, and that's really kind of pushing it. That's the type of upgrade that would leave one wanting for a new computer. Not to mention, you could never make the jump from 3.0 to 3.1, which was the most popular version of Windows. So someone that actually was seriously using Windows on this computer would have definitely wanted to upgrade by the time 3.1 came out. Below this computer is a recent addition to my collection, which also is a computer LAN. Well, it's a computer LAN case. This was an eBay purchase recently. It had a 386 processor and motherboard inside of it, which did not work when it got here, even though the seller had a picture of it posting. So somewhere between here, somewhere between Missouri and here, something happened to that motherboard. But I had some other parts lying around, and I managed to get a 486 66 megahertz motherboard processor combo with 64 megs of RAM to work inside this case. And I used some of the hardware that was in this case on the 386 motherboard, some hardware that I had. That CD drive is something that I added on. It came with a different CD drive in it, which had its own expansion card. But the audio cable to connect the CD-ROM to that card had broken on one of the connections, and it's not the standard type of cable. So I just this desktop had 2 hard drives in it. I only need one because I had an 8 gig IDE drive, so I just have the 8 gig drive and the IDE CD-ROM sharing the IDE bus. You do have to move the cable around if you want to install things that require booting to a 3.5-inch floppy, because the cable only fits putting the 5 1/4 as A and the 3.5 as B. It won't stretch far enough to reverse that, and this computer doesn't support booting to the B drive. It only lets you boot to A or C. Those are your only options in the BIOS. It also has a limitation that it will not recognize anything beyond 504 megabytes for a hard drive. So in order to get the 8 gig hard drive to allow me to use more than 500 megs, I had to install another software, some kind of a BIOS overlay type thing. I forget the name of the software I used, but it boots to that first. And so if you want to boot to a floppy, you have to let that boot and then press spacebar. And so far, I've set it up with DOS 6.22, Windows 3.1, and Windows 95, which I need to set to dual boot. And we could demonstrate that this week, because that's a little cool thing. And I've done this a few times, but I finally got to the point where I want to set it up as I want it, so I have to finish off that install. And that gives us a chance to look at 3.1 and a little bit of 95 on a time period correct machine. Although 95 on a 486 is getting a little slow. 95 is more comfortable on a Pentium, at least. So let's see if anyone is watching or anyone is writing in on the YouTube or the Twitch channel. And we don't see anyone writing in yet on Twitch. I don't see anything going on YouTube yet. It says chat is disabled for the live stream, but I have not disabled chat. So I don't know why YouTube is taking it upon themselves to disable my chat. I would like there to be chat. Oh, I know what happened. It's because that's the old live stream. So let's bring up the new one. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the BC88, because I do want to this camera is being really weird today. I did want to have a chance to show off a little bit of Windows 1 and Windows 2 on a machine that is a more appropriate machine to run them. Unfortunately, I do not have a way to capture that because with a CGA card, Windows 1, and I don't know about Windows 2, but I'm guessing that as well, and I know the same is true for Windows 3.0, will run in a black and white mode. So you won't really get the color experience. CGA is kind of out if you really want to kind of demonstrate what Windows 1 and 2 looked like back in the day, because you're probably better running it on an EGA. And I don't have a capture device that will capture CGA or EGA. So, and this is just going to be a brief little thing, just a kind of really an excuse to set this up and turn it on and do something a little fun with it. So let me just make sure I got everything wired in. The other thing I had to do to this computer is the card that came with this computer that has a serial port doesn't work. It must need a proprietary driver that would have come with the Computerland software that I don't have. So I actually had to add in another serial card to get a serial mouse to work on this computer. And that's a bummer. I am still keeping an eye out on eBay and everywhere for the Computerland DOS 211 disk, which I believe that disk will have hopefully all the software needed to make everything function on this computer. The serial port, the clock, because it does have a battery on there, and I did replace that, but I still can't get the clock to hold anything. The lights on the front of the computer don't work. So I believe these are proprietary drivers that are lost to time, possibly, until something surfaces somewhere, which hopefully those disks are still readable. Because I tell you, this computer's floppy drive has been being real finicky today about what disks it'll read. When I image things on my Pentium 4 for it, lately it doesn't like reading them. Usually what I have to do is format the disk on this computer, and the software I use to image a disk allows me an option to use the format that's already on the disk and write the image in that format. And I have better luck with that. Anyways, this boots to DOS as it always has. It would have come with DOS 211. I'm running MS-DOS 3.20 on it because I don't have the OEM, Computerland OEM DOS 211 that really should be running on this computer. And so 320 is a good DOS to run on a computer of this vintage. No, 330. My apologies. So I installed Windows 1 on here. And when we ran this on the Pentium 4, the splash screen went so fast we didn't even notice that Windows 1.04 with its PS2 drivers had the second Microsoft logo instead of the first Microsoft logo, which 1.01 has the early Microsoft logo. And so now if we run this, we have a chance to actually see the little animation that we get with that. Although the webcam is a little, pointing a webcam at a CGA, EGA, RGB monitor is not exactly the best method here, but it'll have to do for today. So there it is, a little animation there. That's the very first Windows startup screen. And we get again to this desktop that we played with last week. And the thing I found interesting in here, one thing we didn't review last week, is that if we run control.exe, that's basically our first version of a control panel. And it lets us set the time and the date and the cursor blink and the double click speed sensitivity. And we have the option here to add a printer and add fonts, delete fonts. We could set up a communications port. And under preferences is where we'd have the option to modify our colors. So if we wanted to make the active title bar a different color, we would do that here. And it uses a blending of a different color type of scheme to achieve different shades. So if we want to, get something more in a purplish range, we can come over here and we can, I don't know. It's pretty craptastic. I'd prefer something solid to something dotted. All right, well that'll do. As something we can change, and we can change the screen background, menu text. What's the wallpaper or the is that the screen background? Yeah, because a window background would be the background of the window. So screen background might be, yeah. See the bar there? So let's say we want to make that kind of more of a bluish color. There we go. And we'll go ahead and click OK on that. So we did skip that yesterday. And from what I've seen, that change would have followed us on the upgrade path from 1 to 2. Colors schemes tend to follow in early Windows updates. I think when we get to 95 is when they decide they want to throw their settings and themes on there to show off what they think looks good. And never mind what colors you set. But we'll find that out for sure. So that's the original control panel. Very limiting what you can do there. The other interesting thing I found is that Windows 1 will read Windows 2 programs. And I don't know if that's all of them, but it will read some of them at least. And a lot of the various apps that I downloaded and used last week, I think it was a collection of Windows 1 and 2 apps. Because I noticed, I observed something. Because in here we have Reversi. And I wasn't sure if they actually updated Reversi between Windows 1 and Windows 2, because Reversi is the same game, isn't it? But if we go up in the top here, we have an About, and this is Reversi version 1.01, the same as this is Windows version 1.01. I actually am not sure if it would say it was 1.04 on Windows 1.04. I'd have to reinstall that to find out. But we also have the option. Oh, pardon. We also have the option, since I've installed both Windows 1 and Windows 2 on this machine, to go into the Win2 directory and run the Windows 2 Reversi. And it will run in Windows 1 just fine, but notice it's got an ampersand in front of the menu. And I saw that on some of the various apps that I downloaded. And so it seems to me that when the menu has ampersands in front of it, that suggests it's a program that was formatted for Windows 2 versus Windows 1. And it's something that Windows 1 can handle, but it displays kind of differently. And in this version of Reversi, they put the About under the Game menu. And see, this is Reversi version, well, you can't see because the camera's not picking it up. So my apologies for not touching on this last week when we could have all seen it. But this is version 2.03 of Reversi. So they actually updated Reversi to be in the format that would work better with Windows 2. And Windows 1 will still read it. And Windows 2 will read the first version of Reversi. I took advantage of this opportunity to grab a few of these executables in the original Windows directory to save on the hard drive on the Pentium 4 so that we can continue to try to run those Windows 1 apps that came with Windows on future versions of Windows as we go and see if maybe compatibility modes can assist. And that is a worthwhile thing to play around with because it's fun to see how far we can get with some of these things. So the other thing I found really interesting that I can't demonstrate here, but you probably saw it last week and I commented on it, some of the apps that I had opened up in Windows that you can drag and move around. And generally Windows 1 doesn't do that. And I've read that Windows 1 intentionally didn't let you overlap Windows because they thought that they would get sued by Apple for that. And they worked out a deal with Apple in order to implement that in Windows 2. So it seems to me that it wasn't that Windows 1 couldn't work like that. It's that they didn't program apps to do that. But certain apps run in Windows 1 will drag around like a window. So I found that interesting. And that's something I'm not sure if it's well documented or not, that it does have that capability. So anyways, we'll go ahead and end our Windows 1 session on our 8088 here. And we'll go into the Windows 2 directory. And it does the same type of like bringing the fonts in from the sides to line them up animation, except they use the second Microsoft logo. And here we are with Windows 2 that basically has very similar apps to Windows 1, but actually has overlapping moving around windows. And, you know, we pretty much saw this yesterday. We poked around in here. This is really just a chance to see this on age-appropriate hardware. Unfortunately, I had to do it by pointing a webcam and watching the refresh thing make a line move down periodically and seeing the reflection of my ceiling fan. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut this computer down, and we're going to shift over to the 486 that I built in the Computerland 386 case, and we're going to turn on the capture card, and I'm going to move the webcam around. So just bear with me while I move some wires around, because I got to, you know, clear this stuff up off the desk. So I'm just going to move that back. And let's see, I don't need that cable. And I can... I'm going to get this monitor out of here, because we don't need this monitor taking up this spot, and that's... Ooh, that's the video card. All right, and we're going to move the power cable and the keyboard cable and the serial mouse over to the 486. I'm going to move this tower over here, and I'm going to have to unswap the hardware swaps I did later. Okay, so I believe I am already capturing that video. So we're going to turn that on, and I'm going to move the webcam over to where we had it last week, and we're going to figure out why my cables are getting caught in my chair wheels. Okay. All right, so that, I think we could, we got to find that right camera angle, don't we? Okay, so this is the 486 machine now. We're going to go ahead and we're going to turn that on. And we're going to see that boot up. And it's making all kinds of horrible, awful beeping sounds at me. And I know exactly why it's doing that, because the 8088 did that to me earlier, and I forgot one really important thing. This Computerland keyboard I have was designed to work with both the BC88 and the BC286. And even though they both take the same type of keyboard connector, they do not take the same format of keyboard. And so this is one of those keyboards that has a little switch on the bottom that is difficult to reach without the aid of a tiny screwdriver. And if you don't have the switch in the right place, either it won't work, or your computer might throw a hissy fit and go, hey, what the hell is this thing plugged into me? So we're just going to try that again now. And also, I do need to plug my monitor back in. And as you can see, after installing Windows 95, this computer now boots to Windows 95. And it also crops my screen in all directions. So that is not cool, StarTech capture device. Not cool at all. So let me see if I can tell it to not do that. All right, well, that's not doing it too bad now. So, real question is, do we have sound? We do have sound. Now, am I capturing sound? I might actually be capturing sound. I am capturing sound on the left side. Let's wiggle some wires. All right, now to figure out why that wire is betraying me. Oh, come on. All right, let's... All right. Well, anyways, that has sound. So how about that? Why did I install Windows 95 on this machine? Because I can. Because I have an 8 gig hard drive in there, so it doesn't hurt to put it on there. But now what I need to do is I need to go into my computer and I need to go into the C drive. And I need to go into the ms-dos.sys file, which you can't see. So we have to go to View Options and go to our folder. No, file. No. We got to go to View. Huh. I just did this like 3 times this week. Oh, yes, it is here. I'm just so used to this looking different. We want to set that to show all files, and we want to uncheck the option to hide MS-DOS file extensions. And that way, we can see everything instead of just what Windows thinks we should see. And we have to go into the properties of ms-dos.sys and set that to not be read-only. And then we open it up in Notepad. And we have to add a few lines here. And I don't have that memorized, but that's okay because somewhere I have a tab opened that I closed with that information. But if you Google Windows 3.1 95 Dual Boot, you'll find out all about it. And basically what I did is I installed DOS 6.22, I installed Windows 3.1, and then the only Windows 95 install disk that'll work on a computer that already has Windows 3.1 on it is a Windows 95 upgrade disk. Even though you're doing a full install of Windows 95, if you put a Windows 95 retail disk or full version disk into the computer, it's going to say you already have Windows, you need to get an upgrade disk. The only way you could use that disk is if you wipe your computer and make it a new install, which seems rather stupid to me because it would have been easy to make one disk do both. And I can understand why you don't want an upgrade disk to do a full install, but I can't understand why you wouldn't want a full install disk to do an upgrade. There's no good reason to not allow a full install disk to do an upgrade. There just isn't. But anyways, so you act like you're doing an upgrade, and when it asks you what folder to put it in, you just put in a different folder name. And you can even put it on a different hard drive. And it'll warn you that, well, if you do that, you're going to have to reinstall all your apps because you're not going to migrate anything over. And you tell it, nah, I'm okay, I'm cool with that. And that leaves your previous Windows install alone and sets up a full install of Windows 95 on its own. Of course, it sets it to automatically boot to it. So then you got to do a little finagling if you actually want to get back to your DOS and 3.1 installs. And so that is where, once you do that and you get your install done, you do what I just did here to bring up this screen here. And the guide I found suggested putting in a lot of lines. And I think the person that made this process actually wanted to switch between booting into 95 in DOS mode and booting into the old DOS in Windows 3.1. I don't want to do that. If I boot to 95, I want to boot to 95. So I set it to boot menu equals 1, which I believe is a setting that is by default 0, which means don't put on a boot menu. So telling it to set boot menu to 1 means it wants you to put on a boot menu. And then boot menu default equals, now the guide says set it equal 1, and basically that means what's going to be automatically selected in there. Now me booting to my old version of DOS is option 8, and that's what I'm going to be booting to more frequently. So I'm going to set that to 8 because that's my preference. And then boot menu delay equals 30. That's how long it gives you to make an option before it just automatically selects whatever's highlighted. So if I did it 1 and 30, that means if you leave it alone for 30 seconds, it boots to Windows 95. Whereas I did 8:30, that means leave it alone 30 seconds, it's going to just go into my DOS 6.22 and do whatever that auto-exec patch tells it to do. And I'm fine with leaving this 30 seconds because I'm pretty much going to select something before the time runs out. So I don't really care that it takes that long. So now we go ahead and we close this and save the changes, which we can since we disabled the read-only. And now we can reboot because we're not up to 95 yet. We're here to start. Our next spot on the journey, our next stop is Windows 3.1, which we still have to upgrade to on our Pentium 4. But before we switch over to the Pentium 4, we may as well take a look at it on this machine since I set it up this week, and this is a prime machine for DOS and Windows 3.1. And if anyone wants to write anything in or ask any questions or make any comments, feel free. Chat is up, and I am checking it periodically. So I really should move this laptop over there at some point. Maybe I'll do that when we go to a break in a little bit. I just don't know if I can do that without disturbing wires. So anyways, I have already set this DOS to automatically install the drivers for the Sound Blaster 16 sound card that's in here, which came with this tower with the 386 motherboard. I had a Sound Blaster Vibra 16 card that I was going to set up in a 486. But upon doing research, I think the Sound Blaster 16 that was in here is probably better than the Vibra 16. I don't know what drove me to pick the Vibra 16 or where I got that idea from. I'd have to go back to read over whatever I was reading over. But when I looked at it again, it said it was a budget card. So I don't know what I was thinking picking that up. So I'm leaving well enough alone with the Sound Blaster 16. We've got that installed. We've got that working in DOS. If we go ahead and just to demonstrate DOS is working on here, I do have Doom 2. I have Doom and Doom 2 loaded on here. And I'm not too happy with the MIDI sound quality on the Sound Blaster 16 card, but it is what it is and it works. I don't know why my capture is capturing that with a widescreen aspect ratio all of a sudden. It's displaying the same on the screen as everything previous was. So that's probably a resolution thing. Interesting that it's doing that. But it does run this pretty good. So yeah, this game runs perfectly fine on this 486 here. That is really weird that it decides to run that resolution in a widescreen, but that's my capture card doing weird things. Anyways, that is also not what we're here for. But now if we go to Windows 3.1, this is where I started. This was the first version of Windows I used. And we got the Windows sounds working. And we've got the entertainment packs installed. We installed these 4 entertainment packs in the Pentium 4 last week. So that should come over to the 3.1 when we switch back over to that machine and continue our journey. One thing I installed over here that we are also going to install on the Pentium 4 is the Microsoft Arcade Pack. This will not install in 3.0. This will only install in 3.1. And, just to demonstrate, we got Centipede, I think, is the standout in this batch to me, in my opinion. And, just love the sounds of that. Oh, I hate those spiders. They only move in one direction. And so you can either just dodge them easily by going away from them, but then you try to get them, and that's when you get in trouble. Or you try to get on the other side of them while they're swooping down. Alright, got that one. And, yeah. We'll look at a little bit more of that when we get on the Pentium 4, though. So, yeah, this is working with sound. Now, I don't know if we're going to get sound working in Windows 3.1 on the Pentium 4. The Pentium 4 I built with a Turtle Beach Santa Cruz sound card. I thought I had 95 and 98 drivers for it, but when I reviewed my disk, I found it started at 98, and I found the instruction manual only goes back to 98. So I don't know if the 98 drivers would work in 95. I think I tried that in one of my test installs, and it didn't. So I hopped on eBay and really quickly bought a sound card that I confirmed would have 95 drivers. And I got it, and I found that I couldn't find any DOS drivers or 3.1 drivers for it. But it is made by Creative. I know Windows has an option to install Sound Blaster driver. That's kind of a generic driver. It works with this Sound Blaster 16 card. I do think this card works better when I install the actual driver in DOS. It also applies the Windows driver itself. We do to get both sound and MIDI working in here, which I can demonstrate by bringing up Chip's Challenge from the Pack 4. There's our wonderfully awful sounding MIDI, along with our sound effects. Bummer. That's a bummer when you step in the fire without fire boots. As you can see, it jarred him. demos out of that. So yeah, that's this machine. And I built this to have some good old school DOS and Windows 3.1 fun. I wanted to have a machine that was a, kind of a traditional, age appropriate Windows 3.1 machine. I didn't need it to necessarily be a screaming demon or the best of the best from the time period, but I wanted it to be decent, and it runs Doom very well, and that to me is a good thing to have. I don't know if that's a good test or not. Wolfenstein 3D is another favorite of mine of the DOS era shoot 'em up games, and that one's a pretty easy one to run. It does not run Duke Nukem 3D all that well, and that's a pretty demanding DOS game, so I'm not all that surprised about that. I think that game would probably is better suited to a Pentium. Actually, it runs perfectly fine on the Pentium 4, running it in DOS mode on 98. So I'm perfectly happy playing Duke Nukem 3D on that, really, to be honest. I do have the plans to build a Pentium 133 to also add to my collection for nostalgic reasons. But yeah, just I could also demonstrate that if we come out here and we go to Duke 3D and we run Duke 3D, I don't know how well my stream is running, so the video might already be choppy. I'm not sure if my video's still choppy, but if anyone's watching in, you can comment and let me know. I could hit play and mute on that just to see what's going on. That doesn't look too bad, but then again, that's just text coming up. Okay. Yeah, my video's actually running all right for the stream. But as you'll see here, I mean, the graphic looks nice, but that's a still shot in there. And that MIDI sounds nowhere near as good as other, when I run on the Turtle Beach Santa Cruz in 98 DOS mode, it sounds much better. And you can already see in this preview how awful that frame rate is. So yeah, this is not the computer to play Duke Nukem 3D on. So that's basically all I really have to say. Oh, this machine does technically meet the requirements for Windows 98. And so out of curiosity, I installed Windows 98 on it. And the update said estimated 60 minutes. And about an hour later, it estimated 50 minutes. I let it run overnight. I came down the next morning, and it was asking me for my time zone. I put that in. I went and did some work. Came back a few hours later, and I know when I checked on it periodically, at least an hour later, it was still running. So it takes a number of hours to install Windows 98 on this machine. 95 is usable on this machine, but it's not ideal. Back in the day, I certainly wouldn't recommend installing Windows 95 on this machine today. Now, back in the day, if someone had this machine as their family machine in 1995 and Windows 95 came out, would I recommend buying 95 for it? Well, I don't think I would. I think I'd recommend upgrading the machine. I'm not sure what you would gain from 95 on this machine that you couldn't do in 3.1. Because, this machine can't really handle that much more than what you would do in that era. So I certainly would recommend, if anyone puts 95 on this machine, to make it dual boot, because if you actually want to not have to wait forever for your apps to load. I mean, if you're going to use this to do some schoolwork, Microsoft Word's going to run perfectly fine in 3.1, whereas 95, it might take you a few minutes to get the app to open up. It takes a few minutes to set a desktop theme. It's quite hilarious. Oh, I know what I wanted to do on this machine. I've been trying to find the specific video card drivers uh, for the video card I put in this machine. And I downloaded something that I think is supposed to be, although I think it's an extractor. So I think I need to run that in DOS and extract it out. Let me see what I got in here. B drive is a 3.5 drive. I still go A and panic when it tells me it can't do that. So this is a 1.44 disk image that supposedly is the driver disk for my video card. And it looks like it comes with Lotus and utilities and words, and we're perfect. I don't know why, but I'm going to run go and see what this does. .1 driver disk. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and run the Windows 3.1, and I'm going to go ahead and tell it that default path is perfectly fine. Source drive of Windows 3.1 driver disk. That's going to go in the B drive. Hopefully it'll prompt me and ask me for it, because I do have my Windows 3.1 disks here, which we're going to install on the Pentium 4 shortly. But one thing I want to do, I'm going to do briefly here, because I don't know how well this is going to work on the Pentium 4, because I'm running an AGP video card. That's an ATI video card, a Radeon something or other, All-in-Wonder Pro. So I don't have any specific drivers for Windows 3.1 for that card in the Pentium 4. And so I really don't know if I'm going to get sound and or higher quality video working on this machine. Which is fine, because I'm not planning on using this as a primary Windows 3.1. This is just part of our little journey. That's why I wanted to have this machine ready so we can try a few things over here that require better video and better sound. Alright, the 3.1 subdirectory, I stuck with the default of Windows on this one. Files have been transferred completely. Press any key to continue. Okay. I guess that means it finished. So I guess we can get out of there. And for good measure, I'm going to do a reboot. Take that disk out. Huh. I'm still stuck in a widescreen mode on the capture card. You know what? I think I might have done that by accident. There we go. That looks better. Although now that's cropping the edge. Whatever. So let's go into Windows. And let's see what's going on there. I mean, there's not much that's going to change here. We go into Main and Control Panel. We have a drivers option here, which, as far as I can tell, Windows 3.0 doesn't have. And this is where we see what drivers have been installed. And I don't see anything video related here. And I don't know how this works. Let's try looking on the disk directly. I thought installing it through DOS would, I mean, that worked for the Sound Blaster. Heck, it doesn't see any, oh, that's right, that extracted. Where did that extract to? But I don't think it sees the file there. Nope, it doesn't like that. Well, here's where we're going to take a journey down memory lane. I'm going to get the CD drive open here. And our second family computer was a 386 that ran DOS and Windows 3.1. And that was That wasn't my introduction to Windows 3.1. I had seen it on school computers. I'd seen it around. I was knowing it as a thing that I thought was really cool because you could do a lot of fun little things and fun little games in it. And I liked it as an add-on to DOS. And one of the discs that we got with our computer was a Grolier encyclopedia, and I don't know which year it was, but we would have gotten it probably would be before 95. And what I found online that I could easily grab that was before 95 was the 93 edition. I think I found like a 95 and a 96 edition, and I downloaded those, but I haven't burned those. And I remember they had little video clips, and when we tried to run the video clip, the color looked awful. And it was because we didn't have like the higher video driver, the driver specific to the video card installed. And my dad eventually figured out how to do that. He accidentally broke Windows and made it so it wouldn't even start up, and I don't know how he managed to get out of that. But he eventually got it working. Actually, I think I found a setting that eventually got it working. I don't want to take credit for that, though. But I think, because I remember it was something different from where he was looking. And I think I said, oh, I did that, and that fixed it. And it was like a complete accident. But I could be remembering wrong. Anyways, I have not tested this yet. I burned this disk like an hour before we started this stream. So, this will be interesting. We're going to run the setup here. Drives E and F are not formatted, so of course it can't read from them. Thank you for pointing that out. All right, thank you for purchasing the new Grolier Multimedia Encyclopedia. We're going to try this as well on the Pentium 4. I mean, this is one of the things that I wanted to do in the Windows 3.1 part of this journey. Okay, we're going to install this as the C drive. D drive is where I've put Windows 95. And there we go. That's a directory. We'll keep that name. Please indicate the CD-ROM letter. Yep, you got it right. Do you have a Windows supported sound card installed? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Do you want to install Microsoft Video? Hell yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Video for Windows 1.0. Oh, there we go. That's going to be fun. And that looked good. Yeah, let's go ahead and build a group for it. So there it is. And I think it requires having the CD in order to actually run it. And, ooh, there's a number we can call to register it. And, yeah, those colors look pretty awful. So we do not have our video card set up properly. Not only that, we're also not getting sound, which I'm not sure if we're not supposed to. So we could go through videos, space exploration. So let's see, Saturn from Voyager. And yeah.
The second largest planet is the least
All right,
dense
we got
of all
sound.
planets, but its most fascinating feature, the rings, yielded more surprise.
So yeah, we still need to figure out, and by we I mean I need to figure out how to set up this video card to work with Windows 3.1. I thought that install I ran from DOS would have done it, but apparently not. So I'm going to review that folder it extracted, which was SS Pro, and oh, there's a Win folder in there, and let's see, that has an install. Oh, that requires Windows. There we go. Let's go back into Windows and let's run that. Because apparently we ran the installer to install the files, that would let us install it in Windows. Because that makes sense. So that was SS Pro. Win. Install. All right. Well, let's stick with 640 by 480. Let's stick with 256 for now. And it's going to ask us to restart Windows for that to take effect. And now we find out if we broke our Windows install or not. Okay. That's a good sign. So now let's bring the Grolier Encyclopedia, 1994 it says. This still looks very similar to what I remember from our family computer. So I think I've got certainly, and there we go, look at those colors. Those colors look good. So we're just going to poke around a little bit here. If anyone has any requests of anything you'd like me to try to pull up in here, I'd be happy to. Feel free to write in. But we got no one writing in yet anyways. So, yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a word search. Because I remember somehow I was searching around different things. And I was looking for, pictures, things to print out, to like hang on my locker. I was in high school at the time that I had this. And at some point, I didn't do this for me, but my friend Sebastian, he was a fan of James Brown. And there was an article in this about James Brown. And it had a wonderful picture of James Brown on it. Although searching for James Brown did not bring him up. So I might have the wrong thing. Yeah, there's no James Brown in here. It's not that kind of encyclopedia. I could have sworn there was an article on James Brown in this. Oh, here it is. Brown, comma, James. And if we click this... Oh, no. Huh. There's no picture. Huh. I think we had a Microsoft Encyclopedia too. But the thing I remember was that when you had pictures in whatever encyclopedia it was I was using, there was a print button that gave you the option to print it directly from the software. And so I brought up this nice picture of James Brown, black and white, screaming into a microphone. And I'm like, oh, Sebastian would love that picture. He'll hang down in his locker. He's got a nice blank spot right there on his band locker. I'll print that for Sebastian. And I go to print it, and it gives me an error message that says, due to copyright restrictions, we are not able to allow you to print this picture. And I was like, well, isn't that a bummer? And I gave up, and I thought about it, because that pissed me off. And I was like, wait a minute. I can use the print screen button to capture anything that displays on the screen and paste it in the Paint and crop it and print it from there. How stupid do these people think I am? And so sure enough, I brought up the Grolier or whatever encyclopedia it was. I brought up the picture of James Brown. I did the print screen button. I pasted it in the Paint. I cropped it. I printed it out. I trimmed it. I gave it to Sebastian, and he hung it on his locker. And that was pretty great. And so it just kind of was like, what are they trying to get away with there? I mean, I understand if the encyclopedia is working on a deal, and to get copyright clearance, the people go, well, we'll only let you use it if you disable the ability to print. But that just goes to show how much people don't understand technology sometimes that do business based on not understanding technology. If you can see it on your screen, you can put it out a printer. And ain't nothing you can do that can really stop that. So, it's like, what the heck you try? It's like when you go to a website and they don't want you to do certain things, so they block the ability to use the right click button. Yeah, there's code in HTML that you could disable the ability to use a right button. There's still ways to work around that and do the things that they're trying to stop you from doing, though. I can't tell you how many times I've found stupid attempts to use technology to block me from doing something, and it just egged me on to go, oh yeah, I could do it by doing this. It's kind of like my chemistry teacher brought in a computer his wife gave him to use for school stuff. And I had a reputation at school of having a knack for computers. I knew just enough to be dangerous. And so he asked me to take a look at it. And he was trying to get into something, and he couldn't get past it because there was a password on it. And so I was like, well, that's stupid. He's like, oh, I'll ask my wife for the password. I'm like, oh, well, here, we could just hit like F8 and that'll give us a boot menu and then we can get past that. And he's like, well, how did you just do that? I mean, to him, I looked like some kind of a super hacker for bypassing this little password thing. And I don't remember the specifics of what we were bypassing. But I remember he started like bragging about me to his wife, and like at some school function he's like, oh yeah, you got to meet my wife here. Hey, this is the kid I was telling you about. He totally hacked the computer. He got past your she still won't tell it to me. I'm like, oh yeah, he just hit F8. She's like, oh, you could have also done this. But I just don't want him to go messing with the settings. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, it's cool. We found a way past it. So yeah, let's go ahead and browse a little more of the video footage, because this was the shit in the mid 90s, that you had video and audio. I mean, we're dealing with CD-ROM. DVD players in the computer weren't a thing. Heck, I don't think we had a DVD player in our house yet when we had this. We were a little late adopting that. Let's see. We got the here we go. John F. Kennedy's moon mission speech.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose
And we look at this now and we're like, well, it's tiny.
And they may well ask,
It's kind of
why
grainy.
climb the highest mountain?
And I mean, heck, if we expand this, it
35
looks
years ago,
really blocky and really
Why the
bad.
Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
So there you go. It works.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend.
And that's where that cuts off. Franklin Delano Roosevelt's fireside chat broadcast.
Confidence and courage are the essentials of success.
And I think we could
in carrying
scale
out
these a
our
little bit
plan.
without filling them and making
You
them look too
people
bad.
must
But even
have
when you scale them a
faith.
little bit,
You
they
must
look
not be
pretty grainy.
stampeded by rumors
There's a reason
or
they size them to
guesses.
be these tiny little
Let
windows.
us unite in banishing fear.
So, yeah. And, oh, pictures. Let's see. Maybe the pictures are in here. There we go. Music. Rock and popular music. Oh, here we go. There it is. There's the picture I remember. Yeah, that was the picture that if you tried to print it, and I don't know, I don't think, I think it was somewhere else I found in there, because I was confused that some pictures had a print button, some pictures didn't, and I think I found somewhere else it explains that not all pictures are printable due to copyright issues. But if we do the print screen, does this keyboard have a, yeah, here we go. And if we go into Paintbrush, and if we do a paste, there it is. Just that easy. Of course, we got to crop that. We got to get it to capture all of the screen that we want it to grab. But with a little bit of work, we could easily print that picture out. No problem. So we've been spending at least an hour tinkering around with this. I think we should now make our way back to the actual journey. So tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a little break. I'm going to use the restroom. I'm going to grab a drink. And I'm going to move some wires around. And then we are going to boot the Pentium 4 back up. We're going to take another peek in Windows 3.0 and see if there's anything else we want or need to do in there. And then we are going to resume our journey and upgrade to Windows 3.1 and pretty much do everything we've been doing. Update our files that we've started in Windows 1, test our different apps, see what comes, see what doesn't, and see what new things we can install along the way on our journey through Windows. So stay tuned. We will be right back. I'm just going to paint a little message about that. All right. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. We are back here. I'll make sure my levels look good. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna. Oh, I said I need to move some wires around, didn't I? That is very true. So we're gonna go ahead and shut this down. Now mute that. Flip that. Okay. So we need to switch over from serial and old style keyboard. Get the PS2 mouse and keyboard up on the desk here. Go ahead and put those over here for now. And there we go. And now we need to move our video cable over and our audio cable. Right, and we're booting that up. There goes my mic. And there we go. And I already set this up to continue booting to our 16 gig module that is currently running with a 2 gig partition. And we're going to have to expand it at some point on this journey. But we got some time before we got to worry about that. And we do have the driver for the CD-ROM drives. Now I'm hoping I left a disc in here because I'm missing a disc this week. And if I'm missing it, we're just out of luck. Because I had an Office 3.0 disc. And I can't for the life of me find where that disc ended up. And we were able to install the individual Word and Excel versions that were on that disk. But I think it came with some other apps. And I'm walking away because I just want to double check my disks. Because I know I had that disk down here. And it's driving me nuts that I should still have it. But I can't for the life of me figure out what happened to it. And of course that's, bothering me. Because where could it have gone? I mean, it didn't just grow legs and walk out of here. Let's see, those are some 5 1/4 floppies I don't need anymore. And I don't think I dropped it in here. I thought I had it over here somewhere. Well, I could have slid and fell down somewhere here, but I'm not seeing it. Well, that's a bummer because I was going to try to find out if that would install properly in Windows 3.1, but we already installed the 2 biggest, most essential apps in that package. We got the Word and Excel for Windows that came with that working in 3.0, and I expect those will follow us over to 3.1. And so that will have to suffice for our Windows 3 era Office utility. Now, there was a version 4 of Office. I don't know how nuts I want to go with Microsoft Office installers. But, and I don't know where things fit in the range of popularity. But I know that Office 95 certainly is of the 95 era. And so I do have Office 95. So I think, we'll skip 4. And when we start getting to newer things, we've been there. We know that the document formats don't change that much, and they do change at one point, but the new one still reads the old ones. So I don't think we need to go through every version of Microsoft Office Suite. But we'll certainly hit some highlights. I mean, I got 95. We could put 97 in before we upgrade to 98. We could put 2000 in when we run ME, and we could put XP in when we run Windows XP. Maybe we'll just do one per Windows version. As we get to the end, we're not going to want to do a whole lot in Windows 8 and Windows 10. At that point, it's just an exercise to see that we can still upgrade operating systems on this machine and actually go through all of them. We'll deal with that when we get there. So let's go ahead and make sure our Windows still boots. And this is our Windows 3.0 that we upgraded to from Windows 2. And this is the color scheme we set up after it brought along the color scheme we set up in 2, just to change it and play around with it more. And we set that chess wallpaper. And we also put a bunch of the apps that we've been tinkering around with as we go in this favorites path here. And I think we found a lot of these apps don't like to run. This is our Windows 2 version of Reversi. I also do have the Windows 1 version of Reversi. So this is our Fish Aquarium. And I think this crashes the machine. No, a lot of these ones that say they are problematic will crash the machine. Some of them still run. And this continues to run fast. But it helps to put a bunch of fish in to slow it down. Now, we have found that we can run Windows 3.0 in real mode, which is Win/R, and I don't really know what that means, but it disables certain functions or functionality. Certainly we lose our wallpaper, but then if we open up our little favorites thing here and start running our older apps that we saved over here, it doesn't have any problem running those. So Windows 3 in real mode is a great way to run just about anything older. Over here is the Windows 1 apps folder with the stuff we copied, and over here I have a Windows 1 version of Clock, Paint, and Reversi that I grabbed off of my install on the BC88 earlier. I had to use 5 1/4 floppies and make that transfer, so that's why I didn't just grab everything. Besides, we still have a lot of the Windows 2 apps that we held on. Well, we only held on to Reversi from there. That's, it's okay. I could grab more Windows 2 apps off of that computer. I think what's really going to be more interesting is what we can run in later versions of Windows, if we set compatibility modes and things like that. I plan on only going up to 95 tonight, so I'll grab some more Windows 2 apps to try in 95 next week. And we have at least Reversi to try to run in. So these Windows 1 apps, this is the first version of Paint. And, 3 in real mode is struggling. We may have crashed the machine. How about that? I didn't realize I didn't test this. So we're going to have to reboot. While I'm rebooting, let's go ahead and check the messages. Soda Pana writes in, hello, Windows ME. Oh, we might get to Windows ME next week. We're going to go through, and I did make the decision to go through all the home versions of Windows. So even though I never used Windows ME because I used Windows 2000, to do a true Windows path through every home version of Windows, we would go from 98 to ME instead of 98 to 2000. So Ted writes in, three-finger salute. Exactly. That's what we did. The good old three-finger salute there. So let's run Windows 3.0 in real mode again and see if we can make the Windows 1 version of Reversi run. And yeah, that opens in a minimized window. But here we go. This is Reversi version 1.01, copyright 1985, and it'll work in Windows 3.0. And if we go up to here, this is version 2.03 of Reversi 1987. So even though they look the same, Microsoft made a update to Reversi between Windows 1 and Windows 2. And of course, Windows 3 came with Reversi. And over here, well, this version of Reversi, oh, it's under the help menu. They keep moving around where they put the information. Classic Microsoft. The 3.0, copyright 85-90, Microsoft Corp. And Reversi gets dropped from Windows in 3.1. They put Minesweeper in instead, I think, for the second game. So yeah, no, this is 3.0. And I think we've done all we want to do with 3.0 last week. So it's time to take our 3.1 discs, totally legit and licensed from Microsoft. Pay no attention to the handwritten labels there. And we're going to do a upgrade from 3.0 to 3.1. And it helps if I put it in the right computer. So let's take a look here. And let's run the setup. And we're going to find out. Oh. Oh no. I've used this disk like 20 times in the past week. I don't know how this disk could possibly be bad. Oh, that really sucks. Oh my God. Well, lucky for us, I have the means to make a new Disk 1 right here live. I don't think the floppy drive head is dirty. It reads the data on the disk. It gave me the directory. And it worked last week. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a three-finger salute. We're going to furiously mash the delete key. And we're going to bring up our BIOS on the Pentium 4 here. And we're going to go into IDE configuration, and we're going to set the IDE port setting to secondary PATA and a serial ATA. And that's going to allow me to find out my FT10 key isn't working. Why is my FT10... It's not letting me apply the save. Okay. Exit and save changes. There we go. The joys of live streaming. So now it's going to boot to our 98XP dual boot drive. And XP is where I have all the software set up to make these disks. So we're going to bring up our XP. And this should be pretty quick. This is a fairly quick process. I'm going to put that there, actually. And we're just going to run OmniFlop. This is a great little app. You also got to install the floppy drive and floppy controller drivers that come with this program for this to work. But it'll write disk images to various formats of disks. It doesn't work for Commodore 64 disks because that requires a Commodore 64 drive in order to properly write a disk. But just about any other floppy format you can write to this. So we're going to do a format write disk. And we're going to do that on the A drive. Oh, you know what? I just realized something. I may have forgot something. I may have forgot to set the BIOS, to set the A drive in the BIOS to 1.44 from 1.2 after I moved the cable over earlier. So that might be our problem. Let me check that before I start writing new disks. Plus, I almost crashed our computer running the setup without the flag I need. Yeah, the floppy disk is still set to a 1.2 5.25, so I'm surprised it even read the files off of that. There's my F10 working now. All right, so that was a fun little side trip. Oh, I forgot to change our IDE settings. Come on, please tell me I hit the delete in enough time. Okay. IDE configuration, PATA only. There we go. And now we're going to boot back to our 16 gig module that we are doing our journey to Windows 10 on. And it's going to be a slow journey towards the end. It might be some overnight streams that no one will watch, but we will do this all live, as far as it will let us. So here we are, back in our DOS 5.0 environment, because Windows 1 didn't like 6.22, so we started with DOS 5. And we're going to put our disk 1 in. And what I found out on this computer, this is a Pentium 4 machine with PS2 mouse and keyboard, not exactly the hardware that Windows 3.1 had in mind. And when the Windows 3.1 setup scans the hardware, it causes some kind of disruption or interruption that it breaks the connection to the keyboard, and the keyboard stops working, and you can't continue setting up Windows without a keyboard. So someone tipped me off to this little thing, setup /I, which basically tells it, don't scan my hardware. And that's a much better sound that I'm hearing from my floppy drive. Sounds like it's actually trying to do something. And there we go. We are in the setup. And we're going to press enter now to set up. We're going to stick with the same directory to upgrade. It is detected. To perform an upgrade, press enter. To keep your previous version of Windows and add Windows 3.1, press escape. We're going to do enter. And yeah, we're running a DOS system with a VGA video and PS2 mouse and a standard keyboard. So yeah, we're all good there. And away we go up to 3.1. And 3.0 to 3.1 made a world difference. I mean, heck, there wasn't even an option to install drivers in 3.0. And I might be a little bit wrong about that. Maybe there's some way to make that happen or do that. But, or maybe it's hidden away somewhere. I don't know 3.0 that well. But, heck, I don't know 3.1 all that well either, but I know it enough. So we got our files copying. This should be another rather quick install. So let's see. Nothing new in the Twitch chat. Nothing over in the YouTube chat. But hey, glad you decided to join us this evening. Always nice to see Ted out there. And oh, you want to meow at me, do you? Yeah. What? You want me to go to sleep so that you don't have to lie on the bed alone? That's just my cat. Shantico likes to meow at me without really being able to tell me why she's meowing at me. All right, disc 2. So yeah, it's a bummer I lost my Office 3.0 disk that I prepared, but we got Word and Excel installed off of that. I think that is pretty much the staples of Office, especially the 3.1 era. What are you going to do? You're going to write some papers, make some spreadsheets. I mean, there might have been some other. What else was in? Maybe PowerPoint was in that version, but I think we pretty much got more than half of the Office 3.0 suite. And, oh, there we go. Now, that was interesting. It flashed the version of the wallpaper we get when we run real mode. It did not put the wallpaper up there when it flashed that. But we're going to go ahead and put Johnny Gators in here for the name. Company, the Computer Bar. And there we go. We're going to go ahead and continue that. Set up only Windows components you select. We don't need printers. And, oh, we do want to set up applications already on the hard disk. We do want it to bring over our applications. Let's see. README files? Yeah, why not? Accessories? Yes. Games? Yes. Screensavers? Yes. Wallpapers? Yes. That's good. Yeah, let's bring it all in. Now notice our window still has the purple bar that we set in 3.0. Yeah, we're going to install that to C. And, oh, we are on to disk 3. Some people play games for entertainment. I install Windows versions. I also play games on these Windows versions. You know, you don't really realize at the time that you're leaving something behind when you move on to something else. When it comes to things like this. I mean, because Windows 95 could play your Windows 3.1 apps, and it looked new and sleek and cool. And, you know, so it wasn't like, you didn't really feel like you were leaving anything when you upgrade it from 3.1 to 95, or when you bought a computer that came with 95 and left the 3.1 machine behind. But looking back, it's like, you know, there was something unique about that 3.1 experience, and there's a little bit of nostalgia there, and I'm not saying that I want to run it for my everyday computer, but I definitely want to have a computer in my house that is a 3.1 machine. You know, just like I'm amassing a collection of various computers. So it's copying our screensaver files now. And different files are copying over. So we are already on disk 3. And Windows 3.1 has 6 disks to install. So we're nearing the halfway point of this installation. So it's a fairly straightforward install. That's the thing. You run the setup, you run through the disks, it works right out of the box. Now, if you want it to work with your sound card, if you want to get higher resolution graphics, you got to do a little bit of tweaking and configuring. And I don't even know how to get Windows 3.1 on a network or on an internet. We won't be dealing with internet and networking capabilities of Windows for this series. But I do want to play with that someday. Because that is something that I definitely feel is lacking. Pardon me while I adjusted my microphone. I definitely do feel that is lacking in my experience of going back and using these older Windows versions. Now 3.1 was a home computer, not on the internet, so I never use internet on 3.1. I'm curious how it would work on 3.1, but I never did that. But my 95 machine, I brought that to college, hooked that up to their T1 line, and my introduction to the internet was a lightning fast connection. It was quite painful when I moved back home 4 years later and had to deal with dial-up for the next few years. But I made do. I let the torrents run overnight, tying up the phone line to get all my Chobits episodes downloaded. But, yeah, I mean, you know, I sat at my 95 machine. Yeah, I played games on it. I installed different things. At some point, I started discovering MP3s from IRC chat rooms, listening to music. But I was always on the internet. I was always doing something on the internet. So, you know, having a 95 machine and bringing up Windows 95, to really use 95 like I would have back in the day, I need internet capabilities. And the internet today is not the internet of 1997, 1998. You can't even go on today's internet with the browsers of that era. And so I've actually been doing a little research into, you know, could I make a like dial-up server to dial into? And there is actually a do-it-yourself project out there that can be done involving a external modem and adapters and a Raspberry Pi. But I think that, once again, basically acts as a middleman to the internet and a dial-in modem to basically have the experience of dialing in and getting the, you know, old dial-up sound. And really, my Windows machine in college was connected to it, to the local network. So what I really would like to do is get like websites I used to browse in the day off archive.org, see if I can find some material archived as it was in the mid-late 90s, and make like a local internet that I could set a computer to connect to, just more for demonstration purposes. You know, it's almost kind of like using a little AM transmitter to transmit old radio programs to tune in your antique AM radio on, to make the radio kind of play material like it would have back in the day for, you know, shits and giggles. I'd like to do an internet version of that. I don't know. I'm a little nuts sometimes, though, and that one's even a little far out there for me, but it's in the back of my mind. Otherwise, how else can you really demonstrate what Internet Explorer 1.0 looked like? Because Internet Explorer 1 looked a whole lot different, and you can't get it to open up unless you configure your network in 95, and then when you open it up, it can't do anything. I don't know. We will see. Anyways, we're on our last disk here, so we're almost, uh-oh. I put that in the wrong computer. I've been putting disks in this computer all week. I'm just doing that out of habit now. There we go. All right, let's review the changes it wants to make. All right, so it wants to add smart drive to my auto exec batch. And it wants to... That's about it. Alright, I'm fine with that. And I don't see... And it adds smart drive and stacks to my config sys. Alright, I'll allow it. And it's set those to .000 for the old ones if I need to retrieve them. Alright. Alright, where do we want... Alright, we want to search the C drive for applications because that's where we installed all our Windows 3, 2, and 1 applications. So, yeah, we'll bring in the MS-DOS editor. CLWP50. WP. What is that? I didn't think I installed a version of WordPerfect. I don't remember what that is. I'm going to skip that for now. Oh, maybe I did bring in versions of WordPerfect. Okay, that's WordPerfect. That is... Oh, that's stuff I brought over from this Computerland computer. That's Lotus 123. I don't know what version of Lotus 123 that is. And I don't know what that is. And... Whoa, I don't know what that is. That was stuff I copied there just for shits and giggles, and now all of a sudden it wants to use it. Okay. Well, I want to keep these all in the same container they're in, though. Let's bring them all over. What the hell? We're going to make our desktop a mess. So, Ted writes in IPX/SPX NetBoy. Basically, those are things I need to Google for my internet projects. Because I kind of recognize what he's saying there, but I don't know him all that well. We're going to reboot the computer now and see what comes up after our Windows 3.1 upgrade. And I'm wondering, is it going to bring over our chess wallpaper? I hope so. I like that wallpaper. Oh, gotta take disk 6 out, or it's going to try to boot to it, and it can't, so then it barks. Okay. And we're loading our CD-ROM drivers. Okay, we type win, and there it is. And yes, our colors came over, our chess pattern came over, and it brought over all our stuffs that we had. So let's go ahead and start going through some of the things that we've been doing since Windows 1 in this journey. So we have Microsoft Word 2.0, which update on that. No, not Microsoft Word 1.0. No, this is 2.0C. Okay, this isn't the 1.0. Where do I have Word 1? Okay, over here is Word 1.0 for Windows. No, that's still 2.0C. Oh my God. I lost Word 1. I wonder if it upgraded me against my will and undid the old one. Because I installed 2, but I had 1. Here we go, WinWord. There we go. All right, let's make a shortcut. No, I didn't want to do that. File Manager. I want it to minimize it. Or not minimize, shrink it. So that I could... we don't need that window. I want it to bring it over into my favorites window. Oh, that only wants to stay open within there. Oh, the functionality of Windows 3.1 and 3.0. So logical. I always hate it that you had to keep everything in this program manager window. You couldn't just take it outside of there, because that is the whole world. And this wallpaper is just nothing, because really, this should be... Although the file manager comes outside of it. All right, here we go. There's our Windows 1 shortcut again. So now let's go ahead and open up WinWord, and I'm trying to look for some place here I can confirm that this is, there we go, Microsoft Word version 1.0. But that's 1.0 for Windows. And I couldn't get this to work in Windows 1 on any computer. So this version really, well, it came out in '89. So yeah, it came out after Windows. It came out for Windows 2, the best I can figure. I guess in the Windows 1 era, you'd continue to use the DOS version of Word. So we do have a document we can open for this. Over in my document folder I made is where all our... So this is our... Oh, I thought we had a WinWord 1 document. Huh. Oh no, this is WinWord 2. Maybe I saved it in 2. Okay. Microsoft Word 1.0 also works in Windows 3.1. Whoopee. And we'll go ahead and we'll save that. And of course Windows 2 is going to work as well. Let's see. Oh, this is the edited version of that document that we did in Windows 2. Alright, so basically, yeah, Word 1, Word 2 opens up all our Word documents that were created through Windows 2 and 3. So no loss of functionality there. Now let's see what else. Now we do have Superfuse, which is a little fun Windows 1 app that Windows 3.0 gave us trouble unless we ran that in real mode. And I don't believe there is a real mode for Windows 3.1. So let's see what it tells us when we run this. The application you're about to run, Superfuse, was designed for a previous version of Windows. Obtain an updated version of the application that is compatible with Windows 3.0 and later. If you choose the OK button and start the application, compatibility problems could cause the application or Windows to close unexpectedly. Oh, okay. And it works. And let's see if our little fish tank still works. Yeah, that still works. There we go. So we get warnings. So here's our early version of Paint, and that still works. And let's go ahead and let's open up our Paint document that we made in Windows 1.04, and we added it to Windows 2.3, and we edited it some more in Windows 3.0. I'm running out of room here, so I'm going to throw a little 3.1 over here, and we'll go ahead and save that. And now this program had color in Windows 1 and 2, but seems to have lost color in 3, but still opens and is still playable. And here in Windows 3.1, that is the same. And let's see, PageMaster. This program has given us trouble. In Windows 2, the toolbar wouldn't display the tools properly. And in Windows 3, it gave us trouble, but it ran in real mode. So let's go ahead and back out of here to our document folder. And here's the document we created. And, oh, an error has occurred in your application. If you choose ignore, you should save your work in a new file. If you choose close, the application will terminate. Let's ignore. Let's ignore again. Okay, so PageMaker is officially dead in 3.1. PageMaker was designed for Windows 1. It works properly in Windows 1. It works problematically in 2. It works problematically in 3.0. And it's just not functional in 3.1. So if someone was using PageMaker, they'd probably be best off staying with Windows 1. 10 wants to know what's changed with word processor that's worth mentioning in the last 20 years. Fonts, formatting, columns, clip art, backgrounds. I mean, certainly when we get, like, we have Word 2.0. Let's see, we could do paragraphs and character and tabs and border, but can we, oh, we can do columns here. We can do section layout, and we can insert pictures. All right, so all those things I named could be done in Word 2. What's changed? The menu layout. Microsoft's got to justify those hundreds of dollars that you pay for the new version every few years somehow. Now, Windows Word 1, let's see, we got table, we got file, footnotes, break page, paragraph, document, tabs, spelling, thesaurus, ribbon, ruler. I don't see clip art in 1. So really, I guess Windows 2 really kind of, Word 2 kind of nailed it. Although we do have a spelling and thesaurus, I don't think we have a grammar check at this point. So that is nice. All right, so here's another Windows 1.0 application, Innovision. And this is something we've created a file, and we've been able to edit each step along the way. So let's load our drawing that we made in Windows 1 and have edited. So here it is, Windows 1.04, Windows 2.03, Windows 3.0A, and let's go ahead and let's draw a jointed line. Let's see, so we're going to do a there we go, and we'll do a freehand for the I, and let's do jointed lines again for the N, and let's we'll just have to freehand the 3.1. I'm running out of ways to get creative about this. But let's go ahead and set a color and set a fill and make a polygon. There we go. Oh, it only made the outline red. Good enough. All right, so save that. So Innovision continues to be fully functional from what I see, all the way from Windows 1 up to Windows 3.1. So that is a software that you could continue using throughout all of these Windows versions. Let's see, our Chestnut app opens up. So if you had some networking capabilities, you could do some online chess playing and, and be as horrible as I am. I'm just making stupid moves intentionally. But anyways, So let me go back to our File Explorer, or our File Manager, and see what other documents we've created in our Documents tool to see if we can access everything we need to. So we checked our WinWord documents, WinWrite. Let's see. That I pasted that OK button. That was something that I used a program from Windows 1 to copy so I could paste that in there. Let's see, chilling Windows 3.0A. And let's take a look. This is Windows Write version 3.1. So this came with this. So we've not been using the same version of Windows Write. We've made it all the way to 3.1. Yippee. We'll go ahead, we'll save that. So we still have our Windows 1 OK button. Which is not too surprising that documents will follow you and continue to work in different applications. Here's a bitmap we made in Windows 3.0 to test Paint, which we had the more primitive version of Paint in the earlier versions, but I think we already opened that file. All right, 3.1 JG. Go ahead and save that. Let's see, Windows 1 Paint, MSP. This has been saved in an old format. Do you want to convert it to bitmap? Let's cancel that. We want to open that in Paint, the old Paint. Oh, here we go. Did we already do this? I think we already did this. I think I'm just repeating myself now. Yeah, we did the 3.1 over there. So I think we pretty much, well, no, we didn't hit it at the things we made last time. The spreadsheet. So here's the spreadsheet made in Excel 4.0, which we installed in Windows 3.0. And I don't have any other versions of Office between this and Office 95. There is an Office Suite 4.0 that probably comes with like Excel 5 or something like that, which probably isn't all that different. So we're going to go ahead and there we go, 7, 28, 20, debit card. I did buy some gas today. Oh, once again, in this version of Excel, Tab takes you over to the next screen instead of to the next cell, which is very annoying when you are so used to, nope, not groceries, gas. And so that was, let's say, 25 bucks. These are made up figures. This does not at all reflect my bills or checking account or anything at all. And that date there, okay, let's put a memo here. Okay, Excel 4.0A, Windows 3.1. And these were done in Excel 4.0A and Windows 3.0. Oh, and that already says that right there. Okay, well that's good. And we'll go ahead and save our work in the Excel spreadsheet. And so, yeah, that has been our work that we have done, that we've brought along with us. Now, of course, it's no surprise that our entertainment packs continue to work in 3.1. These are all very common, popular Windows games that, heck, I brought a lot of these over to 95. Now, we don't have any sound options. And my mouse froze. So I don't know that this sound card that I put in here can be set to work in 3.1. We might be without sound until 95 on this machine, but I'm going to try because it's a creative card. And so I'm wondering if we can get away with loading a Creative Lab Sound Blaster driver of some sort, and if that will magically make sound come out of the card. If there's any compatibilities between there that we could still get some something. All right, so we're going to put Windows 3.1 Disk 3 that has that driver. In the A drive. Oh, I'm going to be guessing. I picked those numbers. Why? Because that's what the numbers of the Sound Blaster 16 card I installed on the 486 picked. Okay, it doesn't like those. Okay, it doesn't like that. It doesn't like that. Doesn't like that. This is a fun game. How would you figure these numbers out back in the day? Maybe I had to install the driver in DOS before I could install it in here. No, actually I did this. I did this on the 486, and it worked, even though it worked better when I installed it from DOS and updated the Windows files that way. All right, so I'm guessing that this sound card is 95 and above only, and not going to... we don't want to keep that. All right, let's try the Sound Blaster 1.5. Okay, well, that's not going to work. So, unfortunately, we can't really demonstrate sound on here, but that's okay. That's why I really did some playing with 3.1 on the 486. We're still going to install software that uses sound, because we may as well see how much of this will follow us to 95 when we install that one next. So I'm going to install the Microsoft Arcade. And then I'm going to install the Grolier Encyclopedia. And I think that does us, between this and all the stuff we installed in 3.0, I think we got ourselves a nice bit of software to see how far we can take it. And see, I mean, 95 is a big jump. It's going to be really interesting to see what we can do in 95 with all this, especially the Windows 1 and 2 software. Yeah, so let's take a look at this disk. Here we go, the Microsoft Arcade. And it's initializing our setup. And while that's doing that, I'm going to put that in there. All right, well now, if we had a working sound card, we would get arcade sound effects playing periodically as this install goes through. Anyways, I'm going to grab another beer while that install goes on there. Don't go anywhere, because 95 is coming up before you know it. I always slam down a water in between beers to stay hydrated. Because if you're going to drink some beers and you're going to drink some more beers after those beers, you have two options. Wake up pissing every 5 minutes or wake up with a hangover in the morning. And one of those options is slightly less awful than the other. Okay, congratulations. Also, I have some tunes going, and so I need to turn over my LPs to listen to sides 3 and 4 of the Car Wash soundtrack. There we go. And now, let's check out our Microsoft Arcade. Now, we looked at Centipede on the last computer. And we don't have our sounds, but you can play without sound. Now, people have advised me that there are some generic drivers or PC speaker drivers that one could install in Windows 3.1 to get some, it would be lower fidelity. I remember someone did that actually on our school computers, and I thought they did it in '95, but then I stopped and I thought about that, and I realized, no, they didn't do that in '95. They did that in 3.1 because we did not have 95 machines in our high school computers. We had 3.1 computers, but someone brought in a driver that worked on the PC speaker and added sound to all those computers. And I remember it was low quality, but it worked. And that was cool. Low quality things that worked were cool. Let's see. Beat this level and we'll... whoa! Coming straight for me. Alright, that's enough of that. Okay, so I do want to try installing the Grolier Encyclopedia on here and seeing how well it works. I have a feeling that it's not picking up higher graphics options off of this video card, even though this video card is way more advanced than what Windows 3.1 could do. And that is the problem, isn't it? So let's see here. Oh, here's the setup. And we're going to start the installation. I'm going to throw that on the C drive in the default folder name. And that is in the D drive. And yeah, I do, but I don't. Well, might as well try that. Okay, and so there is our Grolier Encyclopedia, and there's the 800 number to call to register it, and there's the awful looking graphics, because we have not installed something that uses at least 256 colors, because this ATI Radeon AGP slot video card does not have any 3.1 drivers. I didn't look hard or extensively, but I did a little bit of searching and I didn't find anything. So I don't even know if I have Windows 95 drivers that'll work with this card, to be honest. So we might even be a little stuck in low quality things in 95. But we shall find out. We could always open up some pictures here, and we could go back to our fine arts category and music and rock and popular artists and take a look at our black and white picture of James Brown, which does work despite the... You know, this might be the quality of the picture I printed out back then. All right, so there's our Grolier Encyclopedia. Now, I believe that requires a disk, that it installs the software to interact with the data on the disk. So let me test that and see if it demands the disk. Yeah, it demands the disk. So we got to keep that disk nearby. So I think... Oh, Ted wants me to call the number. I don't have Skype wired in on my laptop setup down here. I could call the number, just call it. I feel like it's such an immature thing to do if you end up waking someone up or disrupting someone. It's like, I saw a number from the 90s, so I called it. You idiot. What are you doing? Get off my phone. But, you know, every now and then we can't help ourselves. All right. 285 4534. We'll see if they have tech support to help us with our graphics problems.
This call may be recorded for quality assurance. We have a special promotion today for select callers. If you are over 50,
If you are over 50, please press 1 now. If not, press 2. They have a promotion. Thank you for your help with our survey, and they hung up on me. Okay, I don't know what that phone number is for, but it's for a survey that they only want people who are older than 50 to take. So that is what that number is. Oh, that was just weird. It's like we have a special promotion. Are you older than 50? Press 1. If you're younger than 50, you know what? We got to press 1 now and find out what this survey is about. Otherwise, I'm going to be up all night wondering, I wonder what that survey was about. Hopefully they didn't log my number and mark me as, you know, under 50. And this call may be recorded for quality assurance. We have a special promotion today for select callers. If you're over 50, please press 1 now. All right, there's 1. The phone's ringing. Yeah, I think I got the wrong number, though. It was a medical alert center. I'm not going to mess with... I got a live person. And it was a recorded line. And that's where I'm like, yeah, this isn't Grolier Encyclopedia. I think it's a wrong number. So, I think that's the second time I've tried dialing a number and ended up with some kind of medical service. I think I dialed the number for a 70s compilation commercial and got like Life Alert. And, Sir Mars laughed his ass off at that. That guy was not happy to hear from me. Because I'm like, you know, the records. You selling records? I want to buy some records. This is Life Alert, sir. No, you know, the commercial says you got to buy your own. And he's like, get off my phone. Okay. So I think we are ready to upgrade to Windows 95. And upgrading to Windows 95 requires a Windows 95 upgrade disk. I have legit Windows 95 full install disks, but the full install disk will not upgrade. So that is why I got this. And the upgrade disks will not accept the license codes from the full versions. So that's why I have a license code I found courtesy of Google. I'm not saying I endorse this. I'm just saying I do it. So there we go. We're going to put our Windows 95 disk in. And since we have DOS set up with CD-ROM drivers, we do not need to worry about booting to a floppy disk. Now, this is not the recommended way to install Windows 95. If you want to install Windows 95, generally the recommended method is to boot with a floppy, to partition and format your disk, and to create a folder to copy the contents of the Win95 folder of the CD-ROM to the hard drive and install it right off of there. But we're not going to do that. It works perfectly fine off of the CD. Now the problem is that Windows 95 doesn't like processors that are greater than 330 megahertz. And it really doesn't like processors that are greater than 2.1 gigahertz. And we're running a 3.0 gigahertz processor here. Luckily, some people figured out patches to fix those problems. And so I have this floppy disk that when Windows 95 reaches the reboot portion of the install, we boot to this disk, we manually patch our files, and we continue on as normal. That's how it would normally work. On this computer, it still crashes out unless I do something a little different. I have to run setup a little differently. 5HitTune is currently calling the software piracy board to report me. You go ahead and you see how much they care about that pirated version of Windows 95. Don't do that. Don't do it. So somewhere around here, I have someone told me how to do this. And I just need to find where that was, because I forgot to write down that command. Oh, okay. So here's what I need to do. I need to make sure I got the right disk here. Okay, yeah, we got our Windows 95 disk. And instead of just running setup, I'm going to run setup/p /p space I. I don't know exactly what that does. I'm sure somewhere in the internet there's an article that explains what it does. And I think I've read an article of what that does, and I already forgot. But for me, what this does is it makes Windows 95 install not crash halfway through the process. I will still need to do the patch, though, to fix the 330 megahertz and 2.1 gigahertz bugs that are inherent in Windows 95. So here we go. Setup's going to perform our routine check. We press enter to continue. And setup is found in existing Windows version. It's recommended that you start the... Oh! You know what? Windows wants us to do this. And I don't know why this makes a difference, but this is how I did it last time. So we're going to go to the file manager, and we're going to go to run, because I still want to do the setup/p space I. And you can do that from here. And I tested this. This worked for me. This is the way I did the install to determine that the /pi makes this work on this computer. Does that mean it's going to work tonight? No. It's very well going to crash and burn and fail on me tonight, live here in front of two whole people. And but we stand a good chance of it working. And so far, our Windows 95 setup has kept our little purplish toolbar or title bar color that we set. And we set this in 3.0. And also, we could have kept the color we set in 2.0, and we would have still seen that at this point. So at this point, Windows that we set, colors we set from 1 would follow us to 2, would follow us to 3, will follow us to 3.1, follow us to the 95 setup. I don't think they're going to stay once 95 completes. All right, so we're going to say yes on that. And we're going to stay with the same directory because we're going to do an upgrade. And do you want setup to save your existing system files in case you decide to uninstall Windows 95? Yes. And I have tested that. The uninstall does work. All right. I'm going to say typical here because it still gives us the option to choose things. We're going to stick with Johnny Gators, a computer bar for our names. And I just need to look at what CD key I wrote down. Okay. We do have a sound card. We don't... I'm not going to worry about a network adapter on this install. We'll deal with network stuff another time. So, let's see what's going on in the Twitch chat. Never mind, they're closed for the weekend. You're good. Thank you, Dune. Ted saying he's a criminal, Dune. Yeah, but he is our criminal. No, I'm an ethical criminal. Anyways, we're analyzing the computer here. And this is one of those progress bars that runs at a good pace up to 96% and then goes pretty slow for the last 4. Because Microsoft sucks at progress bars. That's something that's remained consistent throughout the years. So thank you, Microsoft, for staying true to that and making the fast-moving at the beginning, slow-moving at the end progress bars. It just wouldn't be Microsoft without that. Oh, we're up to 97. Dune going, wow, a 10-digit key. That's epic, too. 10-digit. Well, the full versions, if I may borrow... Oh, where did I put my full version? Let's see, a full version key is 5 digits, the letters OEM, 7 digits, 5 digits. So 17 digits in a 95 full license. Not sure why the upgrade only got 10 digits. Let's see, Ted going in. They gave up with Spinny now. Okay, so even though we're not going to use any of this shit, let's install everything. I want it all. I got 16 gigs to work with. And let's show me the list. And we're going to, these things that are gray, I'm going to uncheck and recheck. Because I'm going to tell it to give me everything. The works. Let's put all the components in. You could always go into the control panel, add remove programs, add remove Windows system things, and come up to this list within Windows and add these things later on as you need them. But we may as well just throw it all in now. All right, computer name, Gators 95. Work group, I always keep the name work group. And I generally don't put in the computer description, but whatever, I'll leave the Johnny Gators in there. It's cool. I already have a startup disk, thank you. And now it's going to copy files. Now we don't want to forget to put this disk in the disk drive. And I'm going to do that right now, because that's the disk that's going to patch us so that it doesn't crash out at the reboot. And I'm putting it in now so that it's already in there when it reboots. Now it's going to warn us on the reboot that we want to take the disk out. And I'm going to say, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do that, but I'm not really going to do it. So, we could have more fun. I remember I made a few mistakes in computers in my day. This was one of them. There was this guy I used to drink with in Jersey, and he had a girlfriend who had 2 kids. And one of the kids had a computer, and the computer ran Windows 95, and it was giving him trouble. And this must have been in, I don't know if I was still in college or if I was out of college by then, So let's say this was somewhere between the years of 1999 and 2001. So 98 was around, and heck, Windows ME in 2000. Here we go. We're back. All right. Thanks for the call. Bye. Dune, for letting me know my batteries died. All right. So that disc patched. Okay. So there we go. There's a lot of audio. Also, he's finally making sense. Johnny, audio. Haha. Text or call him. That's me on the phone. Give me his phone number. I have an old Timex Sinclair. I'm willing to sell him for 50. No. No, 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 no. 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 Sorry. Um, all right, so we're dissecting our plug and play. So anyways, the story I was telling, I had this friend I used to drink with. He had a girlfriend with 2 kids. And so the guys I hung out with stopped hanging out with him because he wasn't allowed to leave the girlfriend's place on the weekend, and they weren't going to hang out with him at his girlfriend's place. So I just went over there and hung out with him there like every other weekend, or you know, we hung out a lot, usually watching TV, drinking beers, and I got along well enough with the girlfriend. And we all got along well. They tried to set me up with one of her friends. It didn't work out. But we're going to cancel out of that because we're not going to configure that. And so one week, we got our chess wallpaper still. That is nice that that has stayed with us at least to this point. Let's see if it stays after the reboot. So one week I go over there, and Daryl's like, yeah, the kid's computer's giving him trouble. It's running Windows 95. You think we should upgrade it to 98? And I said, well, I got a 98 disk. Let's try doing it. I didn't know well enough to check anything about system specs or anything. And so I brought my 98 disk over, and I put it in, ran the install, and it was a slow install. It was probably was about a half hour to an hour every time we ran it. And we're just drinking beers, hanging out in this kid's room, installing Windows 98, and then it would crash out. And so we started over. We tried it a few times. At some point, we got stuck. We didn't make a startup disk, and Daryl's like, "I got a startup disk at my house." So we went over to his house. His computer had Windows ME. But he still had a 98 startup disk stashed away somewhere, so we lucked out there. And after we were done, I realized that technically that computer didn't have the recommended amount of RAM for 98. We probably would have been better off just reinstalling 95 on it. So moral of the story is check your system requirements before you start installing stuff. So it's held on to our color scheme, I think, and it's held on to our wallpaper. So we got our wallpaper that we set in Windows 3.0 here, and if we open up a window, we still got our ugly purple title bar here, and we got this light blue color here. That's probably something we set for a color somewhere. So how about that? How about that? We have held on to that. Now, there's no pattern behind it, and I think we set that. But it kept our wallpaper. It didn't keep the pattern that's behind the wallpaper, though. And we have no screensaver. So let's, you know what? We should have set a screensaver in Windows 3.1. Oh well, we'll set one now. So let's set the scrolling marquee. And let's set that to say this was set in Windows 95. And let's slow that down. And let's do that. And let's make that text white. There we go. So there we go. Let's see if we can keep that all the way up to 10. We're going to shoot for that. Now this is a very primitive version of Windows of the 95. This is the first retail version. Does not come with Internet Explorer. But what I do have, and you see the shiny? See the shiny? This is not pirated or bootlegged or anything. This is totally legit licensed copy of Microsoft Plus. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to install this. And this is going to give us Internet Explorer 1 in addition to some other tools. May as well see what they can or can't do. So we're going to install Plus, and we're going to go ahead and go through there, and we're going to enter my product key. I probably should have not flashed that on the screen, but oh well. You all won't tell anyone, right? Okay. Let's see. Mookie writing in, it's practically brand new. Don't copy that floppy. What about the pick you made in 3.1? I was surprised my Windows 95 install over Windows 3.11 for work groups went so well. Okay, so we're gonna look at all our documents after we finish this install. Oh, you know what? Drivers. We need drivers. We're going to play with those disks. Put those over there. We still got a little more setup to do. Sunshine writes in, Johnny, did you make Windows 10? No, we're up to 95 now. And we're going to play around some more in 95. And I don't think we're going to tackle 98 tonight. This is a multi-week thing. But thank you for checking in. It's going to take us a while to get to 10. No, I don't have a modem installed here, so we're just going to cancel out of that because it won't let us finish configuring that. Now it gives us the option to set a, I'm going to set this, save this as our Win30 settings. There we go. So there's our theme, our Windows 3.0 settings. And now we can go ahead and we can set this to, let's see. Well, that looks like crap because it requires high color and we don't have better video drivers. Let's see. That kind of looks like crap too. Let's stay with that. All right, we're going to restart Windows after that plus install, and then we're going to see what drivers we can get. Mookie right again. This goes much faster when you don't have a lot of other programs installed. Well, that's the joy of this. I mean, anyone can make a 12-hour video of just doing a quick install of all the versions of Windows. But I want to turn this into, now look we got a plus on our startup screen. But I want, this is a series. This is a chance to really look at what an upgrade path legit looks like and what follows you where. We don't need to show that screen every time. So I believe this is a driver that should give us sound, which will be nice to have. All right, and let's set that up. Remove and install software. Okay. All right. The internet told me this was the right driver for this sound card. So we'll find out. And Mookie writing in, Internet Explorer is there. Yeah, see it is the internet. It was just called the internet with a globe and a magnifying glass. Now it doesn't let us open it up unless we configure some kind of a network. Let's see. How do I tell it that I'm using a network? I have network cards, so I can tell it to just use local. There used to be a easy way to just say local area network. Not that that's wired in, but I just want to at least get the window to open. All right, well that's not going to work. Let's see how this works. All right, that wants us to reboot. A lot of rebooting here tonight. I never really did a real 95 setup. I mean, I've installed Windows 98 a few times. My second computer, my own purchased computer. Oh. Do I have sound? Oh, my levels are just low. Okay. Every now and then, I thought I had the wire fix in this, but sometimes... All right, your display adapter conflicts with another device in your computer. To correct this problem, click OK to start the hardware conflict troubleshooter. Okay. All right, start click here to view the device manager. Make sure to view devices by type is set. Okay. Devices only listed once. Do you see a box at resource settings? All right, double click the hardware that has a conflict. In a device usage area, make sure there is a check in a box next to the configuration mark current. Click the resources tab. Do you see a box at resources settings? No, I see a set configuration manually button. Okay. And the resources tab shows a set configure manually button either because the device has a conflict or another problem and is disabled, or because the resource setting used by this device are working properly but they don't match any of the known configurations. My device is conflicting. The resource settings don't match any known configurations. Cannot. Okay. You've encountered a hardware conflict problem that this troubleshooter can't help you solve. For more information, try looking in the documentation for your hardware. Well, this is the monitor. I'm pretty sure I don't have... you know what? Monitor's working. So, fuck you, yellow exclamation. Don't really care that you think there's something wrong. My eyes say otherwise. Okay. Very sorry for blasting the sound there before. I will try not to do that again. So, with that, I don't think our sound driver worked, because I don't see any sound devices. Huh. Darn, I don't know which one of these is the right one. All right, well, apparently that wasn't the right sound driver for that. So we still don't have sound, but I might have a backup plan. So let's see what's on that disk I just put in. And if that doesn't work, we'll just look at our applications. Let's see, 95 plus. Oh, no, that's not a driver. Okay, let's see what this is. Oh, no, that's the Santa Cruz drivers, but that only goes back to 98, so that's not going to work. And I think this is chipset drivers for the motherboard. Let's see if that makes things happy. Nope, doesn't like that. And that is something I put on there for a reason. Well, no, I have a different creative card installed. It's a PCI card because this motherboard doesn't have any ISA slots. But apparently I did not find the right driver for... I bought this last week off of eBay specifically so it would work in 95 this week. So that was eBay money well spent, because I don't think I'm going to spend much more time with that right now, because I'm not going to just leave you all waiting for me to do an internet search, download files, burn them onto a disk, and try it again. But that's okay because we have plenty of more things to do, and I'm not planning on upgrading to 98 tonight. After all, it is 11 o'clock, isn't it? We have been doing this 3 hours. So I think we should play with our files, see what works, see what doesn't work. Try installing Office for XP. Which is... No, not Office XP, Office 95. Blah. And that should be enough for this week. And next week we can look at 98. I think I'm just going to go right to 98 Second Edition. I see no reason to do 98 and 98 Second Edition. I mean, it's just an update to 98, so we may as well. And maybe we'll get some ME. I'm not sure. I think we can do 2 operating systems a week for those anyways. So let's go over to our Documents folder. And we have our Inavision file, which is not recognized by anything. And we got to go to our One Apps folder for... You know what? Did it keep any of our groups from the stuff that was on our Windows 3 desktop? Are those all in here? They are. They are in here. Okay. Wow, look at all of our apps. So this is a lot of the games that we installed, but a lot of other things too. So, well, here's Calendar. That came from probably Windows 2, maybe. This program requires my... It opens up the Windows Calendar in a DOS window and displays the message that it requires Microsoft Windows. Is that beautiful or what? If ever there were a moment to capture a screen and print that out and tape that up on your office wall, there you go. Okay, so this is where it all goes to shit, basically. Let's give up on. You know what? This was the stuff we were really keeping track of. So here's Windows Word for Windows 1.0. Windows cannot run this program. Please contact your vendor for a later version. And here's Windows for Word 2.0c. That still works. So we can go ahead and open up our this one. This is what we were doing here. We can still run Word 2.0c in Windows 95. Word 1, however, is dead. R.I.P. Frowny face. And we'll save that. Now we could open up our other document that we were editing in Word 1 in Word 2 and continue working from it here. So your work would come over, but you'd have to buy at least Word version 2 in order to continue using Word in 95. Which that is cool that you could go back as far as Word 2 in 95. So, whoops. Let's see what else we put in that favorites. We did put the original Paint program in there. Windows cannot run this program. Please contact your vendor for a later version. So, yeah, we lost the ability to edit our, to use Paint. I believe this is our Paint document. And it won't even run it. Now, we could have converted this to a bitmap in Windows 3.1, but we chose not to do that. I wonder if we could tell this to open with Paint. Well, here's the Paint document we made in Windows 3.0, and I added to 3.1. And here we go. We could go ahead and put a big ol' 95 there. So now let's go ahead and let's open. Let's see if we can get this Paint document. Huh. So, yeah, it looks like we lost our Paint document. I can't find a way. Oh, you know, I forgot to check our calendar in Windows 3.1. Oh my God, this still works. This absolutely still works. So let's see, it is the 25th, midnight. We are now, let's see, updated to Windows 95. I forgot to put 3.1 on this. But let's see. This is Microsoft Calendar Windows 95. So I guess Windows 95 has a calendar app in it that opens these calendar files. Is that right? Or is it just displaying that information running the old app? I didn't bring over the executable for that, so I don't know. Here's our Windows 2 version of Reversi. That doesn't run. You know what I forgot I should have done? I should have saved the 3.0 version of Reversi somewhere so we could try that. Since I'm not upgrading to 98 tonight, I'm going to have to grab that off of somewhere else during the week and try that for next week. Let's see if we can get anything to run here. I mean, here's... we don't have any compatibility options, do we? See, at least when you get later on, you can run in 95 compatibility mode, but there seems to be no equivalent to that in 95 for pre-95. So the clock won't work, the Windows 1 Reversi won't work, the Paint won't work. Now this program stopped working in 3.1, so we're done there. Inavision, I think we... Whoa, Inavision worked in 3.1. But we're out of luck here in 95. Our version of Tapé that ran in Windows 1 doesn't work anymore. It ran in 3.0 and 3.1 with the color not working. Let's see. Mookie likes the word interface. It's better than the ribbon. Ted says his alpha code released his prod code. Microsoft wind blows is the correct nomenclature. yeah, I agree sometimes. Let's see if we can get anything to run in here. I think we're basically out of luck for all these older Windows 1 and Windows 2 apps. We lost our fish. We are out of luck. You know, I saw a video, and I don't entirely know how the guy did it, but the guy did some tricks to get some of the Windows 2 apps to run in Windows 10. And they didn't run perfectly, and he had to do a lot of finagling, but he did it. And I forget how he did that. And I kind of thought if you could do it in 10, you should be able to do it in 95. I need to watch that video again. So I'm going to come back next week with a few more tricks up my sleeve because I think we should be able to run some of these things somehow in 95. I don't know how. Anyways, um, we have our arcade installed, and of course that still works perfectly fine without a problem in 95. We just don't have our sound, but I'll figure that out during the week, and we can revisit that next week. Um, and of course, we have our 4 entertainment packs here. Those all work perfectly fine in Windows 95. Alert antenna. Oh. There we go. No. There. Okay, there we go. Oh, what? Check. Check. Maybe it's the battery. I don't. Okay, let's checkity check. Okay, I think that was it. I think it was just the battery. Okay, still low. Still low. Well, we could check. Okay, there we go. Okay, I think these microphones have this flaw that the wire was stripped a bit more than it needs to be and soldered to contacts that are very close to one another. So these microphones short out extremely easily. I tried to fix it with small pieces of electrical tape, and that was working pretty good for much longer than they ever worked before I did the electrical tape modification. But I might need to do some more modifying. Yeah, move the tinfoil. Okay, so yeah, our entertainment packs. It's no secret that these work perfectly fine in Windows 95. I'm sure many people use these in 95. I still don't know why that's not working, but I could try to manually install that driver. Let's see. We do have the Grolier Encyclopedia still installed from 3.1. I don't believe we're going to have the right color or sound. I have all the drivers we need for 98, though. So when we get to 98, that'll be a real test to see how well this would work. Upgraded all the way to 98. This still doesn't look perfect, but this looks a whole hell of a lot better than it looked in 3.1. This actually resembles the right colors. So that is nice. We still don't have sound, but that's okay. We were able to play around with this a little bit on the 486 earlier in the show anyways. But we can go back over here to our video, and we can bring up some nice video of Kennedy's inauguration, which this is dithered, but even without the dither, you start expanding this, and it is very low resolution. And this was the shit. Now it's just shit. Yeah. I'm really disappointed we couldn't edit our earlier documents, you know what I think I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to, during the week, take our paint document and convert it to a bitmap because Windows 3.1 gave us that option. We could do that. Now, we do have our WinWrite document here. And, oh my God. Look at that. That got sized wrong. So that, I'm glad we did that. That was kind of a random thing that we did because I just happened to run a program in Windows 1 that allowed me to copy a portion of the screen, and I just happened to paste it into a write document. And this has looked great up until 3.1, but now in 95 here, it sized that wrong. That is really weird, isn't it? This document still opens in 95. Our button we copied and pasted in Windows 1, however, is now sized wrong. Aww. We could probably fix it. Oh, cannot save this file in its current format. We are also not able to save this file in its current format. We will have to save as a new format. All right then, let's go ahead and save it in a different format. And we're going to make this WinWrite. Oh, this is going to a Word for Windows 6.0 format. WinWrite resaved in 95. So there we go. That happened. We were able to open that. We were able to open that. Here's our spreadsheet of make-believe figures that we made. We're still running the same version of Excel, so this is no surprise. Of course, I set the date wrong on that. All right, let's see. Oh, I also had to run to the grocery store to get some beer. So let's go ahead and, there we go. And we'll, let's see. Windows 95. And this is still Excel 4.0A. And we're going to upgrade that soon. We opened up our Word documents and we resaved that WinWrite document. And oh my God, I completely forgot about this text document in 3.1. I forgot about this in 3.1. But here we are in 95. It's just a text document. No surprises here. I'm sure that will follow us all the way up to 10, no problems. So yeah, what's really cool though is that this calendar keeps following us. So that's pretty cool. All right. Last thing we can do tonight. Ted writes in, flip the beer and groceries lines. Be honest, LOL. You may have a point there. I'm just going to go run and grab a tissue, and we're going to start our Office 95 install. Because we didn't really do a full install of Office 3.0, because I lost my disk. And in Windows 3.0, we were only able to get the individual installs for Word and Excel to work. So up to this point, we've not been using a full Office suite. We use Windows Word 1, which stopped working. We use Windows Word 2, which is still working. And we've used Excel 4, which, no surprise, that's still working. So here we go. We're going to install Microsoft Office. And we're going to continue. And that's me. And we're going to throw a bunch of ones in there. And that worked. Let's see. Let's do a typical install. No, I do not want to remove Excel 4.0, and I don't want to remove Word 2.0. Microsoft Excel includes Microsoft Data Map, a new feature that charts data geographically. Would you like to install it? Yeah, let's go ahead. Give it to me. And there we go. So now we're going to see what new Office utility tools came with 95. And that'll be fun. And, you know, I'm not sure. We should probably install at least something else that would... I think I tried to install Quake earlier today, and I found out Quake was actually, even though it ran full screen, it was actually a Windows game. Or at least the installer I had was asking for Windows. Maybe, but I don't know what Windows it required. We might want to install Quake and see how that runs. I don't know. We're at midnight here, though, so we'll probably just play with Office a little bit and call it a night. And next week, I'll have some more 95 reviews to do. Some of the things that we left dangling from this week we'll do next week. I'll try to have sound working. I'll do a little more research, see if I can do anything more about the video. I'll convert our original Paint document so we can continue adding all the Windows versions to that. And trying to think, and I'll see if there's anything else we can do, any other cheats I have to make earlier apps work in Windows 95. So that's kind of my homework this week. That and also to prep for 98. And I don't know what I'm going to do for ME. I never used ME. I always considered ME to be like a, cheapo add-on in 98 that just made it worse. So I'm going to have to think about what I really want to do to make ME interesting. Okay, we're going to restart Windows here. The other thing we're also going to do is the next version of Office that came out after 95 was 97, which is probably a popular version of Office that was used in Windows 98. So I'm not sure if we should update to Office 97 before we do the 98 or after. I mean, it was probably installed with 98 quite frequently, but it came out before 98, or did it come out before? Sometimes they have the previous year. I don't know. I'll figure that out. I'll think about that. All right, we're still getting this. I need to make that disappear. I need to tell it to stop telling me that. So here's what's new. So we got Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access. Oh, okay. That's, kind of your basics. That's pretty much your Office. We don't have Outlook yet as part of the Office suite. We do have the Office toolbar here. Oh, remember that? Remember those days when you'd install something and you end up with this toolbar up here? And it's like, I didn't ask for that. I didn't want that, but here it is. Because Microsoft was like, oh, you want to use Office all the time, so we'll just put that up there for you. I think I had something like this for a period of time. I think my first computer came with that. Oh my God, I haven't thought about that in ages. Send a message. Okay, so it ties into Exchange from Windows 95 version 4, which we did install with it, but we've not configured it because, won't work with anything today. And we don't have any network connectivity on this machine. But we should be able to make a contact list here. Okay. There we go. Put a little contact card in there for Dune. Let's see. Title. Chief Gun Owner. Company. House of Dogs. Department. I don't know. I'm out of ideas here. So let's go ahead and add that. And we got a contact for Dune in our list now. Then we got a schedule here. And so let's see, we can go to next Friday at 8, which is going to be, let's see, episode 3 of The Journey to Windows 10. Windows 98 and ME. There we go. We got ourselves a thing added to our schedule. Oh my God, that little alert bell has not changed. I still see that in Outlook today. All right, let's start a new document. And we'll make this a blank Word document. Not that we really need to, but let's see, this is Word for Windows 95 version 7. So we've jumped from 2 to 7. I thought we installed a newer version of Word with the 3.0 disk. Ah well, that's okay. So, I mean, these documents open. And it's still a Word document format. So that's cool. Open a document. It defaults to the My Documents folder, but I already created a document folder. And so here's our spreadsheet. So here we go. 725.20. Debit card. More beer. 160. There we go. The truth. And this is Excel version 7. Oh, and our tab does what it's supposed to do now, instead of moving a whole sheet across. Thank you. Thank you, Microsoft, for getting that right somewhere between Excel 4 and Excel 7. Let's see. Do you want to update it to the current version of Microsoft Excel format? Let's say no. Let's see how far we can push this. We should create a PowerPoint presentation. Let's see. Last week we installed Windows 1.04. Installed Windows 1.04. All right, so over here we can do Windows 3.1. Arcade. Grolier. Cyclopedia. Windows 95. Plus Office 95. So these are the softwares we added. So this is kind of, let's see. Dune. Okay. This microphone needs some work, apparently. So we're going to, wow, that really goes into the red when I do that, doesn't it? All right, thank you for the alert. Step 1, cut a hole in the box. Mookie's going to send Dune a Christmas gift. Going to send it out there to 123 Kansas Street. There we go. Yeah. No, well, you didn't see the contact I made, right? Mookie questions, when did saving files with long file names come about? I'm not sure. I know that in Windows 1, it doesn't like file names longer than 8 characters. So that's very limiting. So here we go. Let's go ahead and save this as my really cool Windows Journey presentation with a very long file name. And it took. Let's see if it really took, though. Whoops. Yeah, that worked. I don't know that would have worked in 3.1. Okay, so is there anything else we can? What's Microsoft Bookshelf? Please insert the Bookshelf 95 disk. I don't have a Bookshelf 95 disk. Getting results book. Okay, I don't care about that. Office compatible. Following Office compatible demos are short demonstrations of applications that have been created to work closely with Office. Oh no, it's loading this. Let's close that. And let's close that. And you know what? Let's go ahead and modify these images a little bit. You know what? No, I'm not going to. I'm going to see how far we can take this title bar, because that came with us from Windows 3.0. And Mookie thought the long file name was way after 95. Well, I'm not convinced that's not going to cause a problem, because I mean, we're on a FAT16 partition. I know there's limitations to that. And I know that Windows 95 could handle had better capabilities in its later versions. Heck, if you get the later version of 95, you can get USB support in 95. The later versions of 95 came with a later version of Internet Explorer. I often talk about one of my funny stories from college is my 95 computer had 95 with Plus. So I had this version of Internet Explorer, which had an animated sky with the Windows logo floating in it for its animation when pages were loading. And that's what I used at first. And then I loaded and installed Netscape Communicator. And I used Netscape primarily to browse the internet. And I remember I saw a lot of other computers had the rotating E when pages were loading Internet Explorer. And I started to notice like that looks like a very popular thing that most people are using. My Internet Explorer is out of date. And I even actually ran into a situation where a few pages weren't loading in my Internet Explorer because it was outdated. Now, mind you, this is 1997, 1998, probably 1997, when Internet Explorer 1.0 was already becoming outdated and certain sites were using features that it couldn't support. And so I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to upgrade my Internet Explorer. And it's like, yeah, it's a free download. You just get it from Microsoft's website. And I don't remember how I did it or what I did, but I remember I did that. And my roommate, LeVar, he gave me some kind of a warning, like, I don't know if you really want to do that. You might regret that. You might want to rethink that. And I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. It's fine. Everyone else was using it. Why not? And Internet Explorer, I think it was version 4, it tied itself into the operating system. Every window in Windows 95 had a blue E in the corner. And I remember I was like, what did this do? What did this update do to my computer? And I hated it. And I uninstalled it. And he laughed. He laughed at me so hard. And he earned that laugh. And after uninstalling it, I actually had problems. And I think I kept it uninstalled and dealt with those problems because there are problems that you could just work around, like an error would come up now and then. You click OK, continue working. And at some point, I think I reinstalled. I gave up. I reinstalled the Internet Explorer and dealt with it and lived with it. And you know, it was what it was. You get used to it. It's a change. You adapt. It becomes the new thing. And I mean, they came out with more updates after that. And at some point, I went on to 98 when I bought my next computer. But I know there was a period of time that every time I booted my computer, it would give me, you know, in the boot process, a list of about 8 files it was looking for that weren't there. And it was the type of thing you just click enter on all of them, and it continued booting up and would run fine. And I never could figure out why it did that. Maybe that's why that computer eventually started giving me blue screens every few hours. That machine really was very unstable in its last months. Mookie said, I thought you got the truncated name and the tilde. I was expecting that too, Mookie, to be honest. That's why I went back and checked it. OX64 says, oh, sweet, you're live. Let's see. Mookie says, I remember the Netscape Navigator with the Lighthouse. I think Netscape Communicator was the email program. Well, I think it was Netscape Navigator was the browser, but Netscape Communicator Suite was the software package you downloaded and installed. And yeah, the one with the Lighthouse, that was the first one I installed. 'Cause I remember I saw Netscape Navigator with the ship wheel logo that loaded up on some of the computers in the computer lab. And so I was like, oh, I like that. I'll install that on my computer and use that. And I installed it, and I'm like, what's this Lighthouse? I was actually a little bummed that the new version didn't have that ship wheel I was seeing on all the computers. I got used to it. And now, you know, you know what? I'm going to have to find that installer and install that on here too. Not that we could do anything with it because this isn't networked. Maybe I could try to network it and see what I'll think about that during the week. OX64 goes in. The first time I got internet, it came with software from the ISP with Netscape, Netscape Communicator. Windows 95, 16 megs of RAM. I was so happy. Mookie writes in, that was what got Microsoft in trouble. MS said the browser was tied too closely to the OS and could not be taken out. Yeah, that was their big problem with 98. because they got in trouble for antitrust and monopoly type of things because they were trying to edge out other browsers by packaging their browser with the operating system, and they were like, well, we can't take it out. And the thing is, Windows 95, it wasn't tied in, and at some point they tied it in. And 98 they kept it tied in, but 95 it didn't have to be tied in, so they could have easily undid that, and I believe they were forced to. In certain European countries, there were editions of Windows that are specific to those countries because their laws were not as kind to them as we were with that. And I'm not sure how that works. My guess would be it still ran the same way, but the part that would actually use it as a browser was set to be turned off, maybe? I don't know. I'd have to look into that. Alexis64 going in, I may have just thrown the manual from all that crap away a few weeks ago. An actual manual book for Netscape and the other programs. Now you're reluctant to get instructions at all for anything. Yeah. I remember Gothard's roommate, sophomore year, junior year. Let's see. He roomed with Scott freshman year. Jason Solomon. Yeah, junior year. Gothard's roommate junior year actually bought a copy of Netscape Communicator, came in the box with the book, had it on the shelf. I remember I was like looking at that on the shelf like, who buys a web browser? But that was a thing. Netscape technically wasn't a free product. It was uploaded to, I mean, the thing is, I believe it was free for students to use for educational purposes. So I wasn't violating any laws technically by downloading it and installing it. But I don't think there were any protections in place to verify anyone that was downloading it free was authorized to by their licensing things. I could be remembering that wrong, and maybe I got, but they sold it, and they also made it available for free very easily. Anyways, Mookie writes in, you got a menu in other countries asking what browser you wanted. I used to love the manuals. I will still read the instructions for anything I buy before I use it or put it together. That's a good practice. I like diving in and seeing what I can figure out before I. But that's me personally. I certainly I think it all depends. I understand things better by doing than by reading, but then sometimes you do have to read to find out how to do it. So anyways, yeah, I think, you know what we'll do? We'll put a text document here on the desktop to remind us what we're, no, not a sound document. We'll put a text document here. And this is what we're going to do for next week. Let's see, Windows 95. Install sound card drivers. This is what I'm going to do during the week to have ready for next week. What else are we going to do? Try to find ways to use early Windows apps. Let's see. Look for other drivers. Video. Mobo. Let's see. What else do we want to do? What did I say I was going to do? I said a bunch of stuff. I already forgot. Shit. I don't want to forget this stuff. This is why I'm writing it down. I know I said other things I was going to do for next week. I think those are the big ones, though. Try to get sound working. Maybe see if we can get video working better. And try to emulate the early programs. Is there anything else we really need to do here? Let's see. I don't think so. Oh, convert early paint document to bitmap. That way we can keep adding to it. Coming next week, finishing our look at 95, upgrading to 98 SE, installing Office 97, maybe a few games. Find interesting things about ME to look at. So there we go. That's basically our to-do list and what to look forward to next week. So yeah, we've got 95. We've gone through on this Pentium 4 1.04, 2.03, 3.0A, 3.1, and 95. And we've pretty much lost all our early Windows apps, but you know, we'll see what we can do. But we've kept a lot of our Word documents and writing documents. OX64 writes an alpha version of ME. Heart, heart, heart. I'll look into that, see what the deal is with that. OX64 also see how well and accessible porn sites are from Windows 95 today. Oh my God. Remember before we really fine-tuned the art of pop-up blockers? And remember the search for free stuff when pop-up ads weren't necessarily unwanted all the time? Sometimes I would get like 10 layers deep in pop-ups trying to find free pictures. I'm only on my second beer. Why am I sharing this much? Alexis Sphere goes, and it was my favorite. Everyone I knew hated Windows ME and hated me using it. And Mookie goes, can you install early Windows on an i7 machine? You know, I think when you get to certain levels of processors, it's, well, you know what? Early versions of Windows are basically just DOS add-ons. And DOS pretty much installs on many things. If you can get DOS on an i7, I expect you can get 1 or 2 on there easily. 3 and 3.1 is where you might run into maybe a little bit of problems, but you probably could work around them. I would venture to guess you could. I have a few spare laptops kicking around that have i7 processors, so that might be something else to add to the to-do list. What early versions of Windows can we install on an i7? See, I don't believe we'll get like 95 on an i7. I remember I brought up my dual-core machine before I built it into a media server. And I wanted to see how early of a version... When I first wanted to build a retro machine, before I started buying parts, the first thing I did was see what I could do with the hardware I had. And it's a dual-core processor. I forget the exact processor. I think it's AMD. And I couldn't get 9X installs to complete on them. Then again, that was before I knew some of the tricks that make it work on this machine, because these versions of Windows don't like large amounts of RAM. I'm only running, let's see, right now I am running 256 megs of RAM, but I can max this motherboard out at 4 gigs of RAM, which it can only use 3 and so much of, because it's a 32-bit processor. But right now for ease of use, I've put it at 256. But before we get to 10, we will be boosting this up to 4 gigs because we're going to need all 4 of those gigs to get 10 on here hypothetically. And I might need to take an image of this drive and put it onto a bigger drive at some point too, especially since we've been adding so much software along the way. So yeah, that is a question I can have an answer for next week, and maybe even a little demonstration in the pre-show stuffs. I don't think I'm gonna have another. I don't have another machine that's better suited for 95 to show. Well, you know what? The 486 next to me has Windows 95 on it, with better video drivers and better sound drivers on it. So if I can't get video and sound working on this machine, we might boot up the 486 at the start of next week's show to run the Grolier Encyclopedia bit on it, and just to poke around a little, because we want to feel like we've really gone on the tour of all of Windows by the end of this series. And Shantico is meowing at me that it is time for bed. So with that, I think it's time to finish off the beer and call it a night. So thank you so much for joining me for the stream here. We'll be back here again at the Computer Bar next Friday, 8 p.m. to pick up where we left off on this machine and cover all those other things after another week of research and dicking around. And also, be sure to check out the 5-Hit with Dune Saturday night. That's going to be... Oh, wait a minute. It's not half past midnight. It's approaching midnight. My apology. My clock in Windows 95 is off an hour. I don't know how that happened. Here I am like, wow, it's after midnight. No, it's just about midnight. Okay, tomorrow night, the 5-Hit with Dune on the 5-Hit Dune channel on Twitch. Also Sunday, 6 to 8 Eastern, the Dune and Johnny show. And, also my other Monday show, streams of this channel and the No Holds Barred Radio Network, which is still a thing. Mookie writing in, cool deal, interesting series, thank you. Yeah, once I figured out how to get 3.1 and 95 to work on this machine, and on a whim I did my 95 test by doing an update from 3.1, I realized I think I can install every version of Windows on this. Pentium 4 is in that happy medium that it can kind of do 1 through 95. It comfortably does 95 to 7, maybe? I don't know. And can just barely do 8 and 10. So thank everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week. And good night.